Okay, and hello everybody, and welcome to the Black Box Podcast. Going to do sort of a different upload today. This one's more of a personal vlog, if you will. Just recently I've launched the channel Black Box Radio, and I've been getting a few views. Yay, yeah, it's actually kind of even getting, like 16 views on a video. It actually feels kind of nice. I mean, at least somebody's out there watching and listening and tuning in to the new channel Black Box Radio, just launched here on YouTube, and most of the content is now going to be centered on true crime stories, really examining some of the mysteries of the internet and trying to get some answers, because one of the values of true crime and the armchair detectives is these are real stories, and people are actually trying to get answers and get the truth, and sometimes the police hit dead ends and cases go cold. So hopefully there will be some benefit to expanding the true crime discussion, and even if a video gets 20 views or something, welcome, it's welcome, like someone's out there trying to learn more about a case and trying to expand the discussion. I view that as a success in one way, and when this channel first started, the first few videos I did were sort of on the deep state and the shadow government and things of that nature, and I wanted to make that the theme of the channel. And the first thing that you have to admit is, yes, those subjects are very unpopular, and the other thing is I will do more in the future, but they are very research heavy. I don't want to get up there in front of a microphone and just start rambling on nonsense about things that I haven't examined properly yet. So it's going to take some more time before promoting more things about the shadow government, because I want to sort of put out the most accurate information possible. What's the point about talking about anything political if the facts aren't correct? What's the point about talking about true crime if the facts aren't correct? In other news, I'm the kind of person who watches YouTube sort of in phases. And not just YouTube, I'm the person who also reads in phases, because all of the internet, like we have so many articles online, and we don't spend all day on YouTube. We can also get online and just start reading. We have so much free information now, so we actually do come from a variety of sources. Recently, I was going through this very large Henry Kissinger phase, and I was going through Henry Kissinger mainly because he was a he was a figure from American history that I really wanted to learn more about, and one of the things is just sadly, like, I would like to watch more of his interviews and more of his press conferences on his book tours, but sometimes he's a little hard to understand in his older age. So it's kind of silly, but he's a little difficult to understand, and maybe he's a very polarizing figure. Maybe he's the one person who really just went from the whole who really started implementing a lot of the darkness and a lot of the evil that we experience in the American political sphere today. Or maybe he was just sort of like a paid professional who does anything for power and money. Maybe it's something like that. And the sort of interest in Kissinger, I should say, also came from watching a lot of videos and doing a lot of reading on Nelson Rockefeller, because I really found that Nelson Rockefeller was one of the many mainly overlooked people of the 20th century, and overlooked sort of by school curriculum, overlooked by the general public, overlooked by the discussions and conversations that you have with people. He is not overlooked by scholars, and he is not overlooked by politicians, and they're all very aware of the influence of Nelson Rockefeller. And Nelson Rockefeller was, of course, the one who gave us Henry Kissinger, and the most recent movie I watched was Kissinger and Nixon, which is based on the Walter Isaacson biography. And again, the actor who plays Kissinger sounds like He really imitated the voice perfectly, but sometimes it's a little hard to understand. However, it's a very good movie from 1995, Kissinger and Nixon with Ron Silver. I like movies that are sort of like they just come across as a history lesson rather than a movie, and that is what I just sort of like to watch. And I saw a biopic on Cesar Chavez once, and one of the reviewers was like, "This was not a movie. This was a history lesson," and I like that. Like they are telling the truth in cinematic form. I welcome that, sure. And one of the other things that I've been doing online really has been looking at The Simpsons. Yep, that's right. And there was a clip of Henry Kissinger visiting The Simpsons, Springfield, and at the nuclear power plant with Mr. Burns. Drops his glasses in the toilet, and I don't know, I just came up while I was watching some more of the hard political stuff, and it also really reminded me that when you're always examining, murder mysteries and political corruption, it actually does take its toll on you. And other people have talked about this online. It's very heavy material, just about all the sort of negativity in the world. And then I ended up watching a couple documentaries on The Simpsons and, sort of just covering what's happened over the course of 28 years, and it's some very eye-opening stuff, and it's very interesting to learn about the psychology behind comedy. It's very interesting to learn about how a show can evolve and how characters evolve. Think of it from as someone who is, an aspiring writer or someone who's an aspiring artist. How does an idea develop, and how does comedy develop, or how do your characters change over the years? I've seen two documentaries so far and a lot of the clips online, and it's been nice to do something light. Sometimes I just have to admit, I love the light material. I was actually just looking online because I did a video upload, podcast upload, of course, podcast upload on Megyn Kelly when she launched her new talk show, and I was just looking online for her book, actually, Settle for More, and I found out that there's also a new unauthorized biography out on Megyn Kelly, and I would love to read both of those. Can you even call that a guilty pleasure? I love light reading. I love the kind of book that you can pick up and just read in a day. Some books you can read in 2 hours if you really, just like get zoned in. You drink a lot of coffee and then you're just like flying through the pages. And I love that feeling. And I think both of those books would be sort of the nice way to spend, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. Anyway, like if I want to pay the 99 cents or something for the unauthorized biography of Megyn Kelly, I might do that. And there's actually a third more reputable biography of her as well, but I don't feel like spending $20. And I really wanted to say that in one of the previous videos, and I think I'll say it in the future about one that I'm sort of planning now. As I said, the political videos take a little more time to plan, and when you buy political books or religious books, I mean, what's the point? You don't have to buy them. You can really just. You're giving money sort of to an arbitrary cause. I mean, you can contact your local library, you can get interlibrary loans, you can have your library purchase the books, and that's a much larger subject about where the money is going and what you want to do with your money. And anyway, it's been very nice to do a lot of the light material, but some of the harder material that I've been just examining lately are also the speeches of our National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster. I'm kind of working on a bigger project with that right now, and it sounds really weird, but I like to fall asleep just listening to the voice of H.R. McMaster. It's very nice to put on, late in the evening, right before you want to right before you go to bed, and you're just, put on the headphones and just listen to McMaster. He's very sort of like, not super loud, But also, it's about the subject material. It's about what he's discussing. It's sort of about the developments of the military, and the National Security Advisor is also, of course, about policy, not so much about, commanding the military, but sort of advising the president on what policies should be implemented. And this is going to be a very big project that I am working on, and maybe something will come to fruition in December. Because, as I said before, I was really fascinated by Henry Kissinger and his relationships to Richard Nixon and Nelson Rockefeller. And one of the other former national security advisors is Zbigniew Brzezinski, who has a lot of connections to David Rockefeller and the Rockefeller Foundation. And they now say that H.R. McMaster is very connected to the deep state and the shadow government, and I've been trying to learn as much as I can about all of them, and that is going to sort of culminate in a much larger video project. And by that point, I'm thinking about making a full on sort of video production on those sort of three men that I mentioned, Kissinger, Brzezinski, and McMaster, just sort of exploring the connections of the National Security Advisor to both the president and to the deep state and financial interests. Yeah, like so many words, it's just like it can be very heavy material, and it does take a long time. And also, not that many people are going to be interested in things like that coming from some no-name YouTuber or from some no-name videographer, like we might be doing some video production work on that subject later on in the year, and hopefully be able to submit it to a film festival. As I said, life exists off of YouTube. However, a lot of these things are very difficult to spread out to a mass audience. But we cannot just put out garbage, and we can't just put out pretty colors and sort of have cheap music playing in the background. And I really just do not think that would contribute anything to the discussion. It would not contribute any sort of perspective to the to what's going on in the world, and I don't think it helps too much to put out these sort of like mass manufactured, overly polished productions that don't really expand the subject. I would much rather just want to put out some material that is going to at least start asking some new questions, at least get people to have an idea that they can challenge, or maybe even an argument that they would be able to follow, and definitely with some of the more political stuff, to encounter a new perspective. One of the connections maybe not many other people have been exploring, or just something new, thinking in a new way. And it's very difficult because when I get political, I'm not really so doing the either left or right thing. It's more just about looking at just all the information and what's there. And people are so emotional when it comes, to any of the sort of the political videos, and you almost wish you could just be a character in the Simpsons episodes and not have to worry about anything. And no, we don't have to worry about things. I shouldn't say that. It's that when you're trying to sort of create material, you want to be reached by a large audience, but at the same time, you can't just put up some pink and purple colors and play a silly song in the background, and because there's no point to that. If you just sort of act really silly on YouTube with a bunch of colors and a very high quality pixel content, you'll probably get some views. And if you just trash talk celebrities the whole time, you'll probably get some views too, but what's the point? We already have so many of those. Anyway, that's what's been going on this morning. Anyway, like if anybody has any sort of comments or there's any sort of subject material they would like to hear about on the channel Black Box Radio, you can always leave a comment. And thank you to the 3 people who are going to watch this video and listen to this upload. And everybody, have a nice day.